Chodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridharadari Gopi Jana Ballabha Giridharadari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridharadari Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajakacha Tarasata Srimad Abhayachanarvind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Gaur Premanandi. Glories to the assembled devotees, all glories from the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 1, entitled The Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, Text 37. Shri Vasudeva Uvacha Slaganiya Gunashuryai Slaganiya Gunashuryai Bhavan Boja Yashakara Bhavan Boja Yashashkara Shakatam Bhaganim Hanyat Shakatam Bhaganim Hanyat Sriyam Udvaha Parvani Sriyam Udvaha Parvani Slaganiya Gunashuryana Bhavan Boja Yashkara Shakatam Bhaginim Hanyat Shriyam Udvaha Parvani. Shri Vasudeva Vacha Hare Krishna. Mataji's. Sri Vasudeva Uvacha. The great personality Vasudeva said. Slagha niya guna. A person who possesses praiseworthy qualities. Surya, by great heroes. Bhavan, your good self. Bhoja Yasha Hakkara, a brilliant star in the Bhoja dynasty. Sa, one such as your good self. Katam, how? Bhaginim, your sister. Hanyat, can kill. Striyam, especially a woman. Udvaha Parvani, at the time of the marriage ceremony. Translation. Vasudeva said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage?" Responsively, Vasudeva said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage?" Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to Vedic principles, a Brahmana, an old man, a woman, a child, or a cow cannot be killed under any circumstances. Vasudeva stressed that Devaki was not only a woman, but a member of Kamsa's family. Because she was now married to Vasudeva, she was Parastri, another man's wife. And if such a woman was killed, not only would Kamsa be implicated in sinful activities, but his reputation as king of the Bhoja dynasty would be damaged. Thus, Vasudeva tried in many ways to convince Kamsa in order to stop him from killing Devaki. Om Jnanatimrandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshushrunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manavishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swa Pandantikam. Shri Vasudeva Uvacha Slaganiya Guna Suryaya Bhavan Bhoja Yashashkara Shakatam Bhaginim Hanyat Striyam Udvaha Parvani. Vasudeva said, "My dear brother-in-law Kamsa, you are the pride of your family, the Bhoja dynasty, and great heroes praise your qualities. How could such a qualified person as you kill a woman, your own sister, especially on the occasion of her marriage?" So here we are in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna's face, they say, you start from the first canto, Krishna's feet, and you move on up and get to know Krishna before coming to his intimate pastimes, which are described in the 10th canto. And here we are learning about the advent of Lord Krishna. So this is obviously before that, and a few extraordinary things happening here. Kamsa, he's mentioned as the king, but actually Ugrasena was the king, his father. But he was controlling. And eventually he actually imprisoned his father. That we'll hear about. And Devaki's getting married, and he's a cousin brother actually, not direct brother, cousin brother. And as is the norm, out of affection, he took the reins of the carriage to take his sister with her husband, new husband, back. And then some strange voice from the sky proclaims that the 8th child of this of your sister is going to kill you. That's unusual. We don't see much of that happening these days. And Prabhupada mentions that this was the demigods who didn't want Kamsa to be on good terms. So they, and there was other reasons also, but basically they precipitated this by making that statement into the ether, or out of the ether. As soon as Kamsa heard that, he became enraged. The 8th child of this personality is going to kill me. What's the problem? You can't hear? Such a small room. How's that? Is that better? Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna. I think it's because of the noise of the fans, perhaps. Anyhow, anywho, Kamsa became enraged by hearing this voice. He didn't pay attention to where it came from or the validity or anything like that. He took it as, we say, gospel, and he immediately moved to harm his sister. And of course Vasudeva is there. He's a great personality. He could have jumped in and started to wrestle or fight with Kamsa, but he kept his poise, and he started to give sweet words that he was explaining to Kamsa the situation. What are you doing? You are a great king, the pride of your family, he says. Kamsa was not a nice person, not a good personality that we hear, we have heard. He was a demoniac type. Demoniac type means not in line with the Lord. Asura means against the suras. So he wasn't a good personality, but as we see in many instances, great demons do have qualities. They do have good qualities. They're learned in the scriptures. They have all kinds of good qualities. And here Vasudeva is pointing out that his qualities, he has qualities, and they're praised by great heroes, and he's the pride of his family. So he's going to spoil all that. He's going to spoil his good name by acting in a way which is contrary to religious principles, contrary to Vedic principles. And Prabhupada points out, brahmanas, old men, children, women, cows, they're not to be killed under any circumstances. So this act of his would be against the principles, and it would cause him to get a bad name, as if he didn't already have a bad name. At least amongst the devotees, he would have those who knew. So she was another man's wife, she was a woman, she was his sister. So many reasons he shouldn't be acting in that way. And Vasudeva is pointing out these things to him in order to try to pacify him and bring him to his senses. And so that's what I see here. I don't see a lot else. There's very, very short point that Prabhupada makes. I did do some research to try and fill it out a bit. I even listened to a class by a godbrother on this same shloka, but he just went off into another plane, as one does. But I try not to do that in the class, in the classes which I give. So we could talk about the fact that, this is quite normal for asuras, for people who are not aligned with the Vedic principles. And we see that in our own situation nowadays. This is 5,000 years ago, and the situation was not so much different. There were, in fact, at this time, the whole reason for, one of the reasons for Krishna's appearance was that the whole planet was overburdened with irreligious people, demons, asuras, right? That's why the Mother Earth approached the demigods, approached Lord Brahma, and that we already read previously. So the world was overburdened, and nowadays, do you think anyone think the world's overburdened with irreligious, demoniac persons? Yes or no? We see the same situation now, 5,000 years later. Of course, it's the beginning of Kali Yuga. This is the way, this is the direction the world is taking. The world is overburdened with irreligious, demoniac persons who are simply interested in their own gratification, sense gratification. They don't know any better. They don't know anything better. They think that's what you're supposed to do. You only live once, so better make the most of it. Go for it. Whatever feels good, do it. Do it now. And of course, we understand that this is actually contrary to the benefit, to their own benefit, their own self-interest is being, they're negating their own self-interest. They want to be happy. That's our self-interest. We want to be happy. The reason we want to be happy is there, but we want to be happy. And how to make yourself happy, how to become happy and remain happy is what's elusive to most people. They don't know. But it's there. The guidelines are there in the scriptures. The guidelines have been given in the scriptures and reinforced by the acharyas who explain them. So, what to do? Krishna has come again to alleviate the situation. He's come in the form of his name. Mahaprabhu propagated this program, this mission of alleviating the symptoms, the way people are driving themselves to hell. The holy name, Hare Krishna, is the only way now that can help. And this is described in the scriptures. What is that verse? It's not coming to me, even though I read it this morning. Anyway, it just reinforces the point. You know, we're supposed to give praman, and that verse is praman, only I can't remember it, even though I just read it this morning. This is the sign of my age. Anyway, chanting the holy names of the Lord are the only means by which one can purify the heart and come to a point where you can start to be happy, move away from the idea that you're going to be happy by, you know, having a nice house, a nice family, good friends, big car, all these different things, intoxication, these are all the things that people run after, right? Because they think that that's what's going to make them happy. We're running after so many things in order to make ourselves happy. But this is a misunderstanding, because those things are only in relation to the body, and we're not this body. All right? So that key information, that's the first basic information that we have to understand, that we are not this body. And from there, then you can start to go deeper and understand the real situation that we're in and how to get out of it. We want to get out of the suffering situation that we're in. Happy, distress, back and forward. You know, sometimes we feel happy. We think we're doing okay. It's really good. We you know, and then suddenly, bang! We're in the depth of depression. Something happened. something didn't go the way we wanted it to go, we find ourselves in the same situation as Kamsa. Someone said something, bang, where we lose our minds. That's what happened to him. He lost his mind and he attacked his sister. He lost his mind. And we are losing our mind constantly. Because we're not focused on our real interest. So, our real interest is Sat. Those things to do with our real self, not those things to do with our body. And therefore, understanding that we're not the body, we have to move and do things which are beneficial to our real self. And the basis of that is chanting Hare Krishna, or the method given by Mahaprabhu, by the Lord himself. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And then there's all the other things that we do to support that. We support it by our sadhana practice. We support it by association with other like-minded people, association with the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. Sat, associating with Sat is what's required in all its different forms. And if you follow the process that Srila Prabhupada gave us, that's what happens. It becomes automatic. Rise early, worship the deity, associate with the Bhagavatam, chant Hare Krishna, take prasad, engage in devotional service, and so on. Of course, some people say karma yoga also works. Karma yoga. Karma yoga and bhakti yoga. For us, bhakti yoga is everything, but some Krishna does say in the Gita, if you have to work, but give me the results. That's what karma yoga is about. Sometimes we have to take that path. Not those of you sitting here. I'm just talking about in a broader sense. Some devotees take that path because of their situation, because of where they're at. If you listen to people are very fond of promoting Tulsi in America, but she herself says that she's a karma yogi. She's into karma yoga. She's a devotee, but she's a karma yogi because that's her situation. It's just an example that comes to mind. So anyway, what can I say? Vasudeva tried many ways to convince Kamsa in order to stop him from killing Devaki, and Prabhupada and the Acharyas, they try so many ways to convince us to stop killing ourselves, because that's what it means. When you are acting in opposition to your own true nature, your own true self, your real self, then you're killing yourself. So they're trying to convince us. Prabhupada spent lots of sweat putting down his purports, teaching us, trying to convince us, and this work we have to take on and carry on and push on in order to help alleviate the suffering of people at large, because this is a bad age, and the world is overburdened with asuras, demoniac persons. That's our background, we know. Any questions or elucidations or something that I missed from the Bhaktivedanta purport of Srila Prabhupada? Jeevnath Prabhu.
So prior to this episode on the chariot, we label Kamsa an asura. Do we have any knowledge of any of his asuric activities besides this chariot onwards?
Most of what I've heard comes after. Most of what I've read comes afterwards. We're just taking Prabhupada's and the Bhagavatam's word for it. Yeah, I'm not aware. Yeah. Vasudev's praising him, you know. His act is abominable. Immediately it's an abominable act. And Vasudev's praising him. So, yeah, I don't have any reference of any activities of Kamsa before this that show him to be demoniac in nature. It's very clearly, you know, it's very strongly stated that he's of the demoniac nature, but I'm not aware of anything prior to this. But I'm sure it must be there. There are other scriptures, other histories, which would probably give that indication. I don't think Ugrasen was imprisoned by this time. He was still around, but it seemed that since he's been mentioned as the king, that he was taking that role in spite of his father's presence. That's not really. Duryodhana was doing the same thing. He took the position of king. He was administrating the kingdom in spite of his, you know, father being present. His father wasn't qualified by dint of his blindness to do it, and so he also took that position in the presence of his father. I don't know if that's a demoniac act. Probably not. Probably not. Yeah, I don't have anything other than what's, you know, stated by the Bhagavatam and by Prabhupada. Anyone else have any insight? Where's our pundit? Not here. We do have a couple of Sanskrit pundits. Yes, Prabhu.
When we think about demoniac, then we go to the Bhagavad Gita. It says that they do unbeneficial, horrible acts meant for the destruction of mankind. I also didn't read a lot about Kamsa before this incident, but throughout his reign of terror, it was one thing after another after this incident, that showed how demoniac he was. I think, if I remember right, the last thing he said before Krishna knocked his block off was that kill King Ugrasena, kill Vasudeva and Devaki, and kill other members of the outer dynasty. That was like the last thing he had to say before Krishna knocked him in the head and he left his body. So he was always, a demon thinks that so much wealth I have today and so much more wealth I'm going to have, and that if he always wants to kill all his enemies. He's always thinking about who to kill. He was trying to kill Krishna, of course, and then he killed the babies. The 7 children. I think we all agree that's pretty evil, right? Smashing babies against the wall. He was trying to kill the 8th child, even though it was a girl and it wasn't Krishna, and then he picked her up and he was going to smash that child into pieces, and then it turned into Mahadurga Devi, I believe, and then she said, "You're just wasting your time. The child who's going to finish you is already somewhere else." So he was a baby killer. He was trying to kill Ugrasena. So I think he had a pretty good score as being a demon. He was.
In other words, he went on to prove the statements that are made. We may not have prior incidents, but he went on by his activities after this to prove the statements of the Bhagavatam and Srila Prabhupada that he was a demon. Fully. No question. Prabhu?
It says in verse number 46, prior to this, that Sukadeva Goswami continued, O best of the Kuru dynasty, Kamsa was fearlessly cruel and was actually the follower of the Rakshasas. Therefore, he could not neither be pacified nor terrified by the good instruction given by Vasudeva. He did not care about the results of sinful activities. So it says something that he was the followers of Rakshasas before that.
46, was it?
46.
Yeah, so Sukadeva Goswami confirms in verse 46, as Prabhu has pointed out. He was a follower of the Rakshasas, Asura. So yeah, that's a good reference. Thank you. We all get pricks of consciousness. Pricks. He got a prick. I get pricks of consciousness sometimes. Mostly not, but sometimes. Hare Krishna.
A happy ending for him. He came back as a Chandkazi and became a devotee in his next life.
Yeah, because he was always thinking of Krishna, he got to be killed by Krishna. And that's very positive. for him. Everyone's a devotee on the ultimate level. Anything else? All right then, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Sorry I wasn't able to give you any nectar. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.